Now, the internet is filled with videos talking about all kinds of red flags and green flags to keep your eyes out for, but there's one that I haven't really ever seen before that is very important. Now, in my experience, there is a very common unhealthy dynamic that exists in modern relationships, whether it's dating or marriage. And this dynamic is that the woman in the relationship should treat the man in the relationship with casual disrespect, that she makes jokes at his expense, that she never really gives praise toward him, that she never really makes it known that she thinks highly of him, or, in fact, ever allows herself to think highly of him. And what's been accepted in the West as like a normal thing in relationships is this total lack of admiration from a woman. That the woman in the relationship should never let the man feel like anything other than a dirty, stupid idiot who's lucky to even know her. Now, what's interesting is if you just reverse the roles, that if the man was, making jokes at her expense all the time, that this would be seen as really unhealthy and terrible, and he would be seen as a jerk. And rightly so. I'm not saying that it should be the other way around. He should be seen as a jerk if he's treating his girlfriend or wife that way. But when it's the other way around, it's actually almost celebrated by people. And in a way, how people see it is that if a woman doesn't ever admire a man, then she must have self-esteem. That only a woman with low self-esteem, low worth, would ever admire a man. And the truth of it is that that's the total opposite. Only someone of high self-esteem can offer real admiration for someone else. People who have low self-esteem can never admire someone else because they can never allow themselves to see other people as being worth something because they're so insecure about their own worth that they have to constantly run down everyone else around them. So it's actually just the opposite. Only a woman who has no self-esteem or low self-esteem would never allow herself to admire someone else, especially the man that she's with. Yet at the same time, culturally, we've accepted this idea that only a woman who's, strong and independent and all that kind of stuff would be someone who never admires the man that she's with. She's always knocking him a peg down. She's always making sure, his head never gets too big. And really, we have feminism to thank for this, that it's turned women into these hateful scourges on men's back, making sure that no man ever feels good about himself. Now, there are loads of examples that I can draw from, namely sitcoms are a great example, and pick basically any sitcom from the late 80s, and you're going to get a pretty good example of what I'm talking about. But here's something that I came across the other day. It's from Dragon's Den, actually. Now here's this multi-millionaire who's come home to his family. He works 17 hours a day and, has provided his family with this incredible home, multiple homes, and, basically anything that they want. And all his wife really has to say is that he shouldn't think of himself as too wonderful.
When he does come home, number one, we ground him because we don't want his head to swell and him to think that he's wonderful all the time.
And this is on television. This is an interview of like, hey, what do you think of your husband? And all she has to say is like, well, I can't let him think he's too great. And this is just a normal, accepted thing in our culture. That, the husband, no matter how great he is, he can be a great guy, make millions of dollars, work 17 hours a day and still have time for his family. But that's not good enough. It's never good enough. He can never really think that he's too wonderful. And it's going to be the woman in his life who's going to constantly remind him of that. So do yourself a big favor. Do not accept this as a normal thing. Look out in the dating world for women who will be making disparaging comments or making little snide remarks at your expense. And keep your eyes out for the kind of women who can genuinely show admiration for you, who actually act like they want to be with you. Because that's really what a relationship's all about. Why get into a relationship with someone who acts like they don't really want to be with you? After all, the whole point of a relationship is to be with someone who cares for you. So look for that care in their action. Well, I hope this has been interesting or helpful. If you found it interesting or helpful, maybe consider subscribing. Also, if you are going through a recovery of a toxic or abusive relationship, do check out the link in the description below. I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.